I beat the coach in.
Need a roll call, please.
Shelley,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Wally, yes, Schott,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Okay, so as everyone knows, this is a special meeting to discuss the item we tabled from our last meeting. It's on the proposed bike trail, so that's the only item on the agenda for today. So can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So
Second?
Roll call?
Schott,
Yes.
Klein,
Yes.
Shelley,
Yes.
Mahler,
Yes.
Wally.
Yes.
Okay, and then I guess since I haven't done one of these before, I'm told that we need to have a motion to open discussion on this item.
So moved. I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
And
And you go. Okay. So, as everyone knows, we can have action at this meeting since it is an official meeting. We do not have to, we can put it off till next meeting, but if we feel we want to make a decision today, we can do that with a motion before the end of the meeting. So, with that, I will open it up to Sven and let him go through what he's put the package together here in front of us.
Yeah, so we'll get through, Chris will bring up the packet that I sent out this morning. But just want to take a little bit of time just to kind of help set the mood and encourage everybody to have open discussion. But it was John that made this point that these two trails are both on the top 10 list of most used trails in the nation. And this is a really great opportunity for our community and a really exciting project to get to work on. So just want to keep that top of mind, that this is, not an adversarial conversation. It's definitely a positive thing for the community and a positive thing for us to be able to work through together and discuss. So I can go through the packet. It's just kind of a culmination of some of the stuff that has been sent out prior and a couple of new things. It's under menu. And then view. And then full screen mode. Okay, so this was put out last meeting as well, but this is just more of an overall map of the proposed trail route as it comes in on 18th Street, jumps up to North Street, back down through Weiss Park. And then our main discussion is around the next page, which is kind of that 8th Street to Raccoon River Valley Trail portion. So I guess with a lot of conversations with our city staff, city engineers with Bolton Mink, this proposed route is staff and engineers' recommendation based on looking at every route, every which way possible, utilizing the infrastructure and planning that had been done years before, as well as trying to balance the best we can safety of trail riders and trail users with walking dogs, taking kids out on a stroll, whatever. And really trying to leverage the economic opportunity that we have with the convergence of both of these trails. So the proposed route would be coming out of Weiss Park, heading south on 8th Street on the established trail. And then 8th Street over to 3rd Street along Willis Avenue. And then down 3rd Street on the west side of Fairway to Otley. And then Otley over to 2nd and Willis to meet up with the Raccoon River Valley Trail. The next page is more of a close-up of that 3rd and Otley work. And between Parks and Public Works, we would be able to do that in-house. Some of the pedestrian ramps will be getting done with the Willis Street overlay project, so that's kind of a help on that. I believe the Fourth Street and Third Street pedestrian ramps would get replaced with the Willis project. You can see there, one of the key points of that crossing over Third Street at Otley is building sort of a bump out so that there's a shorter distance to cross between the east side of Third Street and the west side of Third Street. Then we had, on the next page, had Boltman Mink put together a quick sketch of what the intent would be at Second and Otley, where those two trails would meet, really trying to build that sense of place and connection between the two trails and building a place for really to kind of draw people off of the trail. You can see kind of a rest area and then that information board in the background there. Really focused on providing as much information to those users as possible about the community and everything that the community has to offer. That also include widening the sidewalk from Otley up to where there's a wider sidewalk along Second Street with that revitalization project. So again, trying to encourage riders or walkers up Second Street. And then also, we'll get into it a little bit later. So next page, I think, is, I mix these two up. So up here, or on the page after this sign, we would want to install an information kiosk similar to this at 16th Street, where the trail comes into Weiss Park. So kind of the east entrance into Weiss Park. Then at Second and Otley, and at the trailhead in Caboose Park. So again, trying to convey as much information as possible. Previous page is a layout that Chris put together of what trail signage could look like as far as trying to navigate folks through town. And we've kind of divided it into tiers of signage. So this would be kind of that tier 1 signage of major routes and major destinations. So really focusing just kind of on the trails and the downtown business district. And then tier 2, tier 3 would get more into specific businesses, things like water fill stations, public restrooms, and really specific locations of where things are. And the library. Misty is adamant to get the library on the signage too. So that's kind of an overview of signage, wayfinding information. And then the last few are renderings to show what that on-street marking would look like. This is from the National Association of Civil Engineers, City Engineers, something, NACDO. What's that? Okay. So a couple different perspectives trying to show what those markings would look like on Second Street to encourage bike traffic to still come up Second Street to get to businesses, whether they want to ride on the street or walk their bikes up the sidewalk. And then this last page is more of what that corner of Second and Bateman would look like in a less urban setting, more of a residential setting. Again, just trying to make sure that that is to present it as a safe place for bicyclists to ride if they so choose. But really, ultimately, the staff recommendation on Third and Otley, again, comes down to that balance of safety for having off-street trail and doing everything we can, working with our partners to encourage people to get off the trail and come into the downtown. So, when I sent out some information to Chamber and Perry Economic Development, Jackson was pretty excited to get PED involved in some fundraising and support around wayfinding, signage, and ribbon cutting event of the final or the grand opening of our trail system. So, if there's any questions on that, otherwise I'll turn it back over to the mayor and council.
So this signage on the road, that would go up Bateman and all the way up and down Second? Is that?
Yep. And I think taking this is, I would say this is the first opportunity to implement this. But I definitely see this being something down the road that might be needed on other roads, like, again, I think the thought process we have is marking and setting the official trail for those low to medium skilled riders that might not feel comfortable being on street, as well as those first time riders that need a very designated route through town. But with that, I think, Lucinda, Patee and Bateman will all be routes that we see bicyclists go down, as well as probably Iowa Street, 18th Street, and North Street, all the way to Perkins Park. So I definitely think these pavement markings and signage are something that we'll implement more throughout the community as we kind of see where bicycles are traveling. Just to make sure that bicyclists know that it's a shared use road and that they're welcome, but also to remind drivers to keep I always like the DOT, get your head out of your app, and make sure that drivers are paying attention. So.
Okay. Playing devil's advocate. We're putting these bicycle markings on the road, skateboards. Are the skateboarders all of a sudden gonna say, oh, well, this is bike lane, so we can ride our motorized skateboards or whatever down the road?
Well, I think I defer to chief, but I think they can anyway. But again, I think it's more around keeping awareness about sharing the roadway for all users. We see a lot of people walking on the streets. It's more around making sure that drivers keep more aware on these specific routes. And especially trying to slow people down through downtown. I think the downtown reconstruction project and kind of narrowing those intersections will help slow down traffic. I think you can kind of notice that the Lucinda intersection more than the Warford intersection or Willis intersection. So
skateboards are still not legal on the sidewalks.
under current city code, but I think that's, maybe something to talk about, think about, with.
It's not enforced because previous administration would not sign the area. So the only area that in our code that says that you can't have sidewalk or skateboards on the sidewalk is the downtown area and in front of the rec center.
Okay.
But previous administration would not sign it, so we don't enforce it. It makes it difficult, very difficult to do that.
Yes, it is.
I know when
A lot of skateboards now, a lot of powered skateboards now.
But they can ride on the streets. Walk on the streets, ride a bike on the streets, ride a skateboard on the streets. That's what we did. Prohibited from doing that.
I know that was signed and enforced when I was a kid because my brother had his bike impounded by the PD once. Fond childhood memories.
I just noticed it, because there's a lot of powered skateboards now that go pretty darn fast.
Yep.
And they do not stop at stop signs.
And I was gonna mention a big thing about being on the street. You still have to abide by laws pertaining to being on the street. So for all traffic.
Well, I'd like to open it up to Mr. Mahler. Jeremy expressed concerns about having the downtown as an alternate route at the last meeting. And I'd like him to be able to state his case for why he thinks it should go the other way, and then we'll open it up to other comment.
All right, I don't know where to start here. It's, thoughts don't seem too schizophrenic. Okay, so, as I mentioned, for years now, Sven and I have a little, Sven and I have a little. thing to do.
Jeremy, could you talk in the mic?
Yep, gotcha, Joe. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sven and I have a little thing that we do sometimes we're meeting and I say, okay, I'm gonna get on my soapbox now. And that's when I start talking about the bike trail and coming down Second and Bateman. I think that probably, since the railroad, this is our biggest opportunity for economic stimulus that we've had in our community and it probably will be for a very long time. It's gonna be here for a long time, and I want to make sure that we do the best for us currently and for our future generations. And I believe that aiding our businesses downtown is highly important. In addition to that, I've talked to a lot of bikers over the years, having had a business on the bike trail, and that is one of the most common concerns. I won't say complaint, but I'll say concern is coming through Perry and how to get from one trail to another trail. And as I'm looking at this map, upwards of 6 turns if we go 8th Street to Willis to Otley, back up to Willis. The Bateman to 2nd Street has a maximum possibility of 2 turns. And we get to go by all of those businesses. We're talking about the difference between 4 businesses and 40 businesses. And I think that those people that own those businesses downtown, me included, I probably somewhat biased, no matter how hard I try not to be, would say that they'd like the opportunity to have those eyeballs on their business. Seems to me that it's more cost effective to go on street. I've heard one of the cons be that it's safer, but I guess I take issue with that. I don't know. I think that's speculation. If we have bicyclists crossing Willis Avenue twice, plus traversing all of the driveways on Willis that are mostly pull in and back out, I guess I would challenge that safety. It just seems to me like bringing that trail through our downtown, and especially, I've said this 100 times, the block of Willis Avenue between 1st and 2nd Street is our little gem. It houses our sweet boulevard with our beautiful sculptures out there. It has the hotel, the Carnegie Library, which I adore, our library, which I adore. This particular building that we're sitting in that is that's beautiful. This is the thing that we want people to remember about Perry, is this block. So I guess most of my argument is it's the most direct, has the most economic impact. And it gives a lot of businesses opportunity where I think they need it.
One thing that I noticed that, we're not talking about a main route and an alternate route, but the signage is not gonna say alternate route, primary route. It's gonna give them options.
That's one of the things that actually I've talked about is there's no other city that I can think of on either one of these trails that has 2 routes.
Yep.
That seems confusing and unnecessary, in my opinion.
So I don't know that it would be like designated as an official alternate route. It's more around a on-street bike route.
Mhm.
Again, which I think is something to copy and paste onto other streets where we observe large amounts of bike traffic. And just an overall good message to send throughout the community, as much as we can to keep an eye out for cyclists and other users, like mentioned, even skateboarders, that everybody needs to share the road and not hog it one way or another.
And we could even make one a sidewalk route and a road route. Right on the signage.
I've thought about,
Because if you've got little bitty kids that are not particularly stable on their bikes to start with, you might want them on a sidewalk rather than on a street.
How many people with little itty bitty kids are gonna ride their bikes from Minburn or Boughton or Dawson? I think that limits that demographic pretty seriously.
I
And-
would
and I'm not
agree.
saying that-
I would agree that there's not, but how about people in town that are on our trails that wanna ride to Fountain
Sure.
from the west side?
I guess I don't see how that changes the current situation.
Well, I don't think that there's any problem with having boat routes through town, myself.
Okay, I want to play devil's advocate. What percent of the people who are familiar with riding through Perry actually follow the trails? They know where they want to go. They know what business they want to get to. They know whether they want to just scurry through town or to go to a bar or to go to a park or this or that. And they're gonna take whatever Hell Street is the handiest for that. And that's their right. Now, I understand safety and concern, especially for the youth. And I certainly think the trail is a very good idea, no matter where we put it. But just sitting here pulling numbers out of my head, I'll bet 75% of the people that ride into Perry don't follow the trail. They just go where they intend to go. They've gone through Perry, they know how to cut across here to make it a little shorter, or here to get to the bar, or here to get to the restaurant. That's great for everybody. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be intelligent and careful and thoughtful about where we actually do the routing of the thing. But I think we also need to realize that most of them aren't gonna follow. And we can't change that. They're gonna go where they wanna go, where they wanna get to what they do.
But the first time into town with the new trail, they'll want to know
You're right.
where to go.
Yeah, you're right.
After that, they go wherever they want. But the first time, then they'll try to at least figure out where the trail's at
I
and
mean,
follow it.
I'm a busy back and forth person in Perry, Iowa, to a lot of different things most days of the week. I can't remember the
I got a
last
question, Mr. Mayor.
bike that was on the trail on Willis Avenue. The trail's there.
I got a question, Dirk.
Hey, Joseph, go ahead.
Dirk, I heard Jeremy say there's no other bike trails in the area that has two different routes. Is that correct, Jeremy?
As
It's
far as I'm
always
aware,
one,
Joe, yes.
it's always one route and that's it. That's it.
As far as I'm aware, yes.
And Barb was just saying about you don't want your children, even if you're riding. I mean, I've seen kids go on long rides. You don't want your kids to go on the busy street, which would be Bateman, versus going through the residential area, which would be Willis. Wouldn't it make sense to have a sign right there at the community center where that splits off with these drawings that you have right here, Spin, where it says you can have the business route if you went down Bateman, residential if you went down 8th Street. Would that be too confusing to have two routes, or does it have to be one route is what I'm asking.
And I think that's something that I've mulled around in my head is kind of that business route sign, just like you would see on a bypass. Like, here's the business route. I just know I have a buddy that lives in Knoxville and forget what highway is that? Highway 5? Whatever highway has the bypass around Knoxville, but they have business route signs that point people into town for those businesses. So it could be signed as a business route to,
The bypass.
Yeah, because if I was riding with my kiddos, I wouldn't want to get down that busy street. I would want to keep them on the sidewalk, going through the residential area. Although, Jeremy, you're right. You got cars bagging out on Willis. That's a liability. That's a risk in itself, you know. So I'm thinking a sign right here at the McCurry Center, right at Weeds Park, indicating, hey, these businesses you can take to this route. This route here will take you a residential area. But if there's only one route, we can only choose one of the two routes. I would have to lean towards debatement because it's less turns. It's less turns and it highlights our downtown. That's a big selling point. We want to try to, in my opinion, highlight the downtown and bring in business. And having 30,000 bikes come through downtown, I think would be a good problem to have.
Well, and I know I used to drive quite a bit, don't as much anymore, but unless I had to go to Knoxville, I wouldn't pull in and go on the business route just if I'm driving by. And so they probably lost a lot of traffic through downtown, similar to what we had here. People that used to have to come through town and stop at a few stoplights and on their way to Des Moines might have decided they needed gas or, yeah, well, let's take a break. We got to stop anyway. And now they're just,
Would it be too egregious, too much of a reach for me to compare this to Route 66?
No, I don't think so, Jeremy. That's history. History shows that Route 66 used to be a busy road until they put the interstate on and bypassed everything, and then everything died. You're right. In my opinion.
What
Yeah.
do we do, like, if that's the bidding, what do we do with, like, the downtown reconstruction project that might drag on for 2 to 3 years?
I'll just say, I went through Redfield yesterday and they tore up the trail in Redfield. And they've had a detour there all last summer and it appears to be this summer. I think that's workable. I mean, permanent temporary signs is a slang term that I keep on throwing around, but I think that while it's unfortunate, it's not the best thing, I think that it's totally doable. And, you know, we talk about things like the Chambers downtown street party, farmers market. I think it has potential to add value to those things as well. Just happen to come upon that maybe wouldn't have seen otherwise.
With those street closures for the farmer's market and for block parties, does that create alternate routes around those events?
Yeah, I would say that during those times, Thursday nights and, you know, the occasional, I thought of another thing, what was it? Oh, Bacon is one. That probably, yeah, there has to be some kind of common sense alternative route, which would add some turns, but that's far less of the time than the alternative, in my opinion. And just on that point, I will say that having been an official stop for Bakun the last 3 years. The chamber has volunteered people to direct people to the proletariat because they didn't exactly know how to get there, which is in the heart of our downtown. So that's a personal experience that I have, is having people say, no, you gotta keep coming this way. So that's a real thing.
I think no matter what the route is, one of the big things we'll be focusing on is, I think I've been using the term interstate signs, where you see each business on this exit and the short arrow with a direct or a distance. I think starting that down by Southgate, south of the bypass, to really start doing everything we can to educate people of getting past 141 and getting into downtown. And then even along that section between downtown and 141, there's businesses over on First Street that we can sign people to get to for restaurants and shopping as well. So I think, education is going to be key to no matter what route. So I think it's, goes without saying, whatever route that council decides on, staff is going to be 100% behind it and do what we need to do to help get people through town.
Yep. And I want to reiterate, we're really lucky to be able to sit down and have this discussion and have this problem on our hands.
Right.
That is absolutely a great thing to have, great problem to have. Yep.
Okay.
I think one thing about Willis is that trail has been there now for a while, that I think part of that backing in and out of driveways is a little bit relieved in my mind, just knowing that people are used to it, that it's been there. People I see coming home from work, I see a lot of people walking that section. And so I think there would be a sense of keeping aware that that's there. So
Can you give me a ballpark when that 8th to 5th, is it 4th?
I'm
When
gonna
was that done?
have to ask the old person at the desk.
Late 90s, early 2000s?
When the trail was built?
Yeah.
No,
The
probably
Willis
mid
part.
mid
The Willis
2000s.
Yeah, it's probably just ahead of 2010s.
2010.
I think so.
So
Fif-
maybe 15 years of use that we've got out of this great sidewalk.
15 plus.
And it's not like we have to tear it out. It's still there.
Right.
It's great. I told Sven the other day, I drove down Willis on Sunday and I saw people walking their dogs. I saw people pushing strollers. Saw kids playing hopscotch. Norman Rockwell may have been there somewhere painting a picture. It was nice.
I think, that's one thing you see a lot of walkers, strollers, dogs on other parts of the trail going in and out of town. So those multi-use trails are already being used for multiple things. And, I think on the trail, bicyclists have really good etiquette of announcing themselves and getting around slower riders or walkers or runners and things like that too. So
Well, I'll use two different terms.
can you lean into the microphone for Joe?
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you.
use two different terms. We have a wonderful conflict to solve and a wonderful opportunity to embrace. Because we're going to have a lot of people over the years come through Perry. And the friendlier we are and the more open we are to their whims and how they go and where they go and the opportunity for them to do that will make them want to come back. It's just a wonderful opportunity to have this problem.
100% agree.
So I'd like to go ahead and open it up to any public comment. If you would like to make any, please come up, state your name, and give your address and try to keep it around 3 minutes. We're not going to time, but we do want this to keep moving. So please.
You expected someone taller? Okay. My name is Mindy Farmer. I live at 1421 Willis Avenue. I just wanted to share today, when I moved here almost 10 years ago, people always said to me, oh, the bike trail is right in front of your house. So you have a trail in front of your house. We have that wide sidewalk. My experience living there is that people walk and use and ride regularly there. My own family, we live in a great space between going to the different trails, and we ride on that sidewalk. We would love to have a route that was safer and more efficient for us to get to the trail so that we didn't actually have to ride on the sidewalks downtown, which would be our preference. And I just really think that utilizing that already existing sidewalk makes sense. And we're talking a lot about the trails as bike trails, but it's my understanding that they're recreational trails. So they're for everyone. They're for a family like mine. I have 4 kids. We do ride them. We do walk them. They are for us. We do go to Dawson. We do ride to different areas. And I see many families that take advantage of them. And I think that having them in mind as a community is really important. We should be thinking about the different kinds of people who use the trail, and not just bike riders. Also, I really think that it's important that we think about how we're going to embrace being a biking community. So I've lived and been in many places, and if you really want to be a biking community, you have to really send that message. And I think you do that by having that really clear trail that shows that you embrace everyone using the recreational trail, and then having those street signs that guide people through the downtown. I just don't think realistically a lot of people who want to enjoy a ride or a walk want to walk through downtown. And that's not necessarily their aim or goal for a recreational trail. But there's lots of opportunities to guide people to do that. I also think that if we do this, we really need to come up with how we're going to educate people. You can't just suddenly have a bunch of bikes on the street. And you want to be a biking community, you need to be real about it and say, our drivers, watch out for bicyclists. We care about bicyclists, and we want you to be here. Because that's a true message. And if our community doesn't really want that, then we definitely don't want to put those signs on our street, because it changes things. But I have been places where you feel like this is where bicyclists belong and they have a place. And I really think that the best route would be to continue using the trail that we've already planned that goes past my home, that would be welcoming and right for all kinds of recreational users.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is our second meeting today, isn't it, Dirk?
Third.
I'm Joelle Miner. I live at 1602 Warford Street, lifelong Perry resident. My first time I ever even heard about bike trails was probably 30 years ago. I was on the chamber. We met up in the Brenton Bank upstairs and watched a video of trails in Minnesota and the economic boom they were having and how awesome it was. And could we even ever begin to realize or think about it for here? And then you fast forward and here we are, 2 trails merging here, and the good problem we have with figuring out how to transcend through Perry. I'll just say up front, I'm an advocate of changing the route to 2nd Street. I'm a bike rider myself, have been down past Jeremy's many, many times and all over. I know the feeling of going through a town or going by a town. I've been involved with this bike trail situation for quite a while. Back when the conservation department was going to bring our bikers down 141 and come in out by what I always call the old drive-in road, Farm Credit. That was ready to be voted on and a done deal. All the plans were done. The money, I think, was basically secured for that process. And we heard about it and we all met at the conservation building, and that got stopped and it all got restarted. And now we have a beautiful trail going out of town through timber and across a little creek. And, I just think that was just a picture of what, possibly could happen here, is that yes, it'll be a hassle and we're under some time constraint, but all the points you guys make are valid, and I know that, safety and all that. I believe that Willis sidewalks are a school route as well, designated like walk to school route. So I mean, it was also created with that in mind. It's not like it'll never be used again for some bikers, walkers, whatever. I think being a bike rider, I like the route that's got 2 turns versus convoluting through here and there. I'm tired. I just rode 30 miles. I'm sitting out there, at your little rest stop area and don't even have the wherewithal to think, hey, I think I'll back up that way and go see what's going on downtown today. If I come right by it, you know, and oh gosh, I can swing in. There's Ben Franklin's. I mean, I think it's a huge missed opportunity to not bring them down Second Street. I think safety can be figured out to the best of our ability. I about had a little girl at 8th Street last night where there's a light in the dark on her bike, came flying up to Willis and didn't brake enough and had to turn and almost, you know, put her bike down. And she was a little girl. She would have hit me. She just happened to get herself out of the way. But, you know, we do the best we can. But I think this is our time. And I think we have to bring people down Second Street. These businesses down here struggle every day to open their doors. And if we can add to their ability to stay afloat and optimize on this, I think that's what we should do. But there were so many good points. If anybody had any questions about what I said or like bringing back up your point, please, you know, throw it out there again. I guess I'm bringing it from my own experience living here in town. I have a business on Willis. It has a sign out that says it's an Airbnb. You know, I should probably want them to come by there, but I don't. I mean, that's not a valid reason for me. My heart is with this downtown area. So I can't think there was some other things you said that maybe I could, Charlie, that you said.
I have a comment to make.
Uh-huh.
We can bring them through the business district with our routing. But only the business people can keep them coming back.
Oh, for sure. They'll slide right on by.
That's right.
They'll
You know,
slide right by.
so I guess, you know, to take that, just because we put them there,
Right.
doesn't mean they're gonna stop.
And I totally agree with what you said about, they find their own routes. I do that. And if I decide I want to explore a little, I
Sure.
do that. But, I think, you know, for the first, if we're going to be an intersection for a lot of new people, which is our
Wanna
hope,
be.
I think they will take the first time to go
I
where they're
agree.
directed.
They'll try.
And we're getting, our downtown's getting beautiful and better every day. And I'm worried about it
Mhm.
because
Yeah.
I know a lot of them are teetering. So I don't know if you've really polled them. Have you guys talked to individual store owners and said, what are your thoughts about bringing them by you? I mean, maybe they don't want it because maybe they don't want bikes flying down there. I don't know. But my thought is that they probably do because their bottom line is they want to stay. So,
I've done a very unofficial,
and what was that?
mostly in agreement with me, but I can be convincing, so.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think all bike trails, everything we have here in town should be, to the best we can be, amenable to all family type of activities, whether it's walking your dog, walking your kids, riding your bike, riding a trike, whatever. I mean, we're a great town for that. We're welcoming and friendly. We'll get there. But I just thought the example of thinking how they were gonna come in off of 141 and it was this close to a done deal and it got changed for such a better situation. But anyway, that's,
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Sherry Scheib from Perry. Hi, Joe.
Hey, Sherry.
I am all for being downtown. Part of that is that I'm on the Nudger board. And that's what we do. We work with downtown. That's where we want to see all the activity. But what I want to ask about is this. Since we're all about sculptures and art and all of that sort of thing, and I've talked with a few of you about this sort of thing, I wonder if we couldn't get an art commission together I have for the last year or so been working on sculpture ideas. John's shaking his head. I've been working on sculpture ideas and I think we could do something to make more of a presentation on the entry into town on both sides. What I'm really hoping for is that we can have a commission. I would like to be part of that commission because I've been working so hard. And thanks to Van Kirks, they gave us a big sculpture with which we are going to add to. If we could get prettiness that way and draw people in and have them, part of that is have them get off their bicycles, have them take pictures of where they are, have them send that to their friends and say, hey, you need to go to Perry. Not only do they have art and sculptures and all that sort of thing, but geez, take a look at their downtown. There's stuff downtown that you can do. You can go to the Proletariat. You can go shop at Ben's. You can go to the Backwards Boutique. But I kind of feel like that I think I want to draw more attention to our town. We've been saying we're an art community for a long time. So I keep wanting to bring that forward and do more with that. So anyway, and I have a whole bunch of bicycles right now sitting at DMAC that have been torn apart, just waiting for the opportunity to be put together. DMAC students said they would weld those together to make this huge art ornament that I have.
Oh.
And so, so anyway, what I'm hoping is we could get a commission together with maybe 6 people. John has volunteered for that. And Dean Berkland and I have been working really hard. So I want you to consider that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Go ahead.
I just want to point out that the biggest concern I have about bringing it down Second Street are all the stop signs. Bicyclists, in my belief, don't like to obey stop signs. And that's where we have most of our traffic. So I think that's going to be an issue. Also, when we redid the Bateman corridor between Weiss and the Foundry, we also put in all stop signs going east and west, which are going to be another hazard. So if that's the direction that's going to be made, there's going to have to some major changes to signage or a route that's just something different. So I kind of like the idea that we use the existing trails that we have and that have put in place for the last 10 to 15 years, I guess, and utilize those.
I have a question, Chief Vaughn.
Yep.
Is it mandatory that a bike comes to a complete stop, or do they yield? Or
No.
they have to come to a complete stop?
They're supposed to obey all rules of the road, whether they're on a
So they,
motorcycle, a car, a skateboard, or a bicycle.
so they must come to a complete stop.
They are supposed to, yes.
Okay. No California stopping.
Nope. This is Iowa.
Right, Chuck?
Oh.
Yeah, there's-
People have talked to me about that in the past.
They're gonna put a patrol car right on Bacon. They should have stopped.
Lindsay Pasuti, 1119 Warford Street. I'm coming to you today as a citizen. Usually I'm giving updates as a chamber director, but I will say that the board of directors of the Chamber of Commerce does not have an official stance on this, so I'm speaking as a resident. But I have also reached out to a number of people, Amy Ziegler from the Iowa Tourism Office, Deb Bexton from the Adel Chamber, who's also a big biker. Amy is also a big biker. Some other friends in the biking community, reaching out to try to get a pulse on how they already navigate through the community, what they see in other areas. I myself am not as much of a biker as I would like to be, but so my experience is limited in other communities. So with that, I have reached out to a number of them and have been surprised by their responses. I would have assumed that they would say it's good for economic growth to bring riders downtown. But almost all of them have stated that a designated off-street trail is preferred by the biking community in terms of having an option. So I'm not saying that everyone would use it, but for those that have the children, for those that are new to riding, if there is not an off-street option, they will be turning around and going in the other direction and completely doing the opposite of what we're wanting to in terms of bringing them into town. So in thinking about that, I think we have the great opportunity to be the most hospitable community on the trail, on both trails, and to expand our in-town trail system as a community, not just for through riders, but also for getting people in the community interested in riding, and then also for use throughout the town. That we really do need to be, so I'm going to be an advocate for both of these trails to have a designated signed, really well signed off-street route. And then also a designated option that is in the works for future infrastructure to be more bike friendly and safe for all. As we're talking about the street crossings and the driveway crossings, as we're talking about people opening up their car doors and not realizing that a bike is going through, when we're thinking about the multimodal with the skateboards and walking their dogs, we don't really want them to walk downtown in the middle of the street. Obviously, we would suggest that they are on the sidewalk, but that's kind of beyond the point of this is your route. So thinking about that recreational trail and doing it safely in a way that is user-friendly, intuitive, and really well signed so that people can have a space to pause, look at signage, and move on. And then signage to bring them downtown. Again, it's already been brought up. They're going to ride however they want to ride. So in talking to people already, it's, yeah, we normally go this way. They're already coming downtown, not to the extent that we want them to, but we also don't want to get into the position where we're putting them in uncomfortable situations because they don't want to be on the street. And then that's a complete turnoff and they're not going to come back. They're not going to explore our community. So I personally am an advocate for the off-street route. And you would be surprised to hear that several of these community members that I was speaking with had no idea that that was the route from on 8th Street to Willis because it's not properly signed with the route. It says bike. There's a sign that says bike, but it doesn't say this is the route through town, or even that there is the sidewalk on the south side of Willis. So how are we working through that as a community for signage, for fun placemaking, education on how to properly use the trails, alternate routes, and having a little bit of fun with it and being hospitable for outside community. So thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
In a little bit too. I'm Jackson Van Kirk. I'm coming to you today on behalf of Perry Economic Development, and as well as a business owner at Progressive Foundry. But I'm not going to throw my name in for an opinion either way, but I was just kind of doing a case study back there on other towns on both trails and what they are doing, just some food for thought to think about. These particular towns throughout, however they've done it, and they were set up a little bit different, have ran their bike trail as close to downtown as possible, or their downtown districts. That would be Boughton, Dallas Center, Adel, Minburn, Woodward, Waukee, and Redfield. So when you're riding those trails, and I'm talking to you as a rider too, who's rode all these trails, you're riding right through the heart of their city. And there's a lot of signage going to which businesses they want you to go to. This is where we want you to go see and what is in our town. Here's some examples of some towns where I would say the downtown district is just a little off the beaten path, meaning more than a few blocks. That would be Panora, Madrid, and Polk City. These particular towns, two of them have done a very good job of directing people towards their downtown. So if you go to Madrid on their trail, they have very specific signage saying Sisters and Cheese is this way. The ice cream shop is this way. The bar is that way. Okay. And it works very well as a rider. It's like, okay, I'm going to go over there because I want to go get a cheese sandwich at Sisters and Cheese. But I'm stressing the importance of signage. If you did go that route, the signage is going to be crazy important and has to be consistent. That's something that Sven talked about too. The interstate signage is obviously going to be needed. A town that does not do very good at that, in my opinion, is Panora. So if you're in Panora, there's one business on the bike trail. It's Pedal, the burger shop right there. That's right on the trail. Other than that, if you want to go downtown Panora, it's kind of like, there's not a lot of signs. So I guess on behalf of Perry Economic Development, I'd just like to reinforce that whatever you guys choose, that the crown jewel is the downtown and what businesses people want to go to. Keep that in mind first, and that the signage is going to be super important. Additional signage, specific signage, consistent signage will help people out. Thank you.
And I think Jackson brought up a really good point around those other towns and the trails. Like, all of our communities were built around the railroad. And part of the issue between Perry and Woodward in general has been that that section of railroad right of way was abandoned, and so that's why they've been having to find workarounds and other ways, especially from like basically M Avenue over to 169 and beyond that. If we had railroad right of way for the east-west High Trestle Trail portion, it would be super, super straightforward and come right on the north side of downtown, across First Street. And all of that would create issues in itself, but it would also probably go through the main manufacturing portion of Progressive Foundry. So for better or worse, we don't have that original railroad alignment through town. So just trying to, again, come to the best group of alternatives that we have. And, this is absolutely not an either or, it's a this and that pointing down to Second Street. Cause I wholeheartedly agree with Jeremy and everybody's opinion of the importance of bringing those bicyclists downtown, but it's really a matter of trying to understand different trail users and what they're on the trail for, how they want to get through town. And Jeremy will tell you, before I really started digging into the safety aspect, I was 100% Second Street and Bateman because it's the straightest, clearest path. But really starting to take into consideration the mix of drivers that we have, and the opportunity to have it off street to really accommodate all users while still having a very prominent route and encouragement to come downtown. And I can't stress that enough, that it's going to take all of us with the city, the chamber, Perry Economic Development, and each and every business to make that successful, no matter which route is designated.
Well, and Perry's not new to biking. The Raccoon River Valley Trail has been going through town for quite a while. We host the Burr Ride, which is an extremely large organized bike ride, second in the nation organized size-wise, next to Ring, right? So like businesses are already attracting bikers, I think. So something to think about.
Okay, anything
Anything
else?
from
Jim?
the engineering side? Or Jim first?
Question, Jim Caulfield, 2124 Estella. And this kind of relates to the railroad right-of-way matter. I was a little confused by the illustration of the Second and Otley. Was that kind of a view of the northeast corner or?
Yep, that would be that northeast corner. It's the
Okay.
grass triangle right now.
South of the bar.
Okay, because that's gonna be a pretty important corner then. I know the concrete business has been intending to relocate to the west side for several years now. I'm not sure what's holding them up. hewers of wood are important to a community, but it'd be nice to see Walton kind of removed from so prominent a corner. So that could be really developed into a trailhead. I mean, a serious. Is that, not to change the subject, I mean, the routes is one I don't have a strong opinion. I mean, how much retail trading bikers are apt to do on Second Street is a question. I think the Conservation Board commissioned some research, close to 10 years ago now, showing, I think, $6 to $10 was the average what a biker spends on a ride while riding. And that's mostly food and drink. It's not bouquets of flowers or furniture or things like that. So, but it's that trailhead, the destination question I'm kind of interested in. So,
I think conversations I've had with both of those business owners are more long-term and pie in the sky dreams for redevelopment. So, but they're bouncing around.
Chuck Juan Nettingham, work at Raccoon Valley Radio. And I just hearing everybody's thoughts and everything. I agree with Sven and also Lindsay. I like the thought of having alternate trails. I'm a runner myself, so not biker, but I do running through, like, I've ran through Minburn, ran to Dawson, and I do like that I still get a glimpse of the downtown, but I'm still able to continue my run. And I don't know. I mean, I've ran through downtown. I mean, I grew up in Las Vegas, Nevada, so I've run on the side of I've even ran on Highway 141, which I know is not.
I saw you.
Yeah,
Thought that was-
I know it's not particularly safe. But
What is this person
Yeah.
doing?
yeah, I know it's not the safest guy, but yeah, I do like kind of having the option of if I want to go downtown, that's great, but if I want to just continue on a run or whatever, having kind of that option. So that's kind of just what I wanted to add. So thank you.
Okay, any other discussion?
Spin, I have a question regarding the stop signs.
Yep.
The stop signs from the McCurry and 8th proposed route all the way past the Weeds to 2nd Street. How many stop signs is there right there? Because
I believe I counted 4.
that'd be
4 plus Willis. Would make
On Bateman.
on Bateman. Yes,
on
sir.
Bateman. Yeah, there's 4 there, but then you have like 5 downtown. But then on 8th, you have 5. So there's the same number going north-south, either route. It's just the 4 on Bateman.
Well, the fact of the matter is they're gonna ignore the stop signs unless it's a major road. Pardon? You're probably right. Yeah.
Eric has offered to come back in the summers and run bike patrol.
I was just gonna say that sounds like fundraising to me.
So, yeah. The one
We'll have-
problem is on Bateman, a couple of those are stop signs going on Bateman and they're not 4 ways, so the other traffic doesn't have to stop. So at
Right.
least all the ones on 8th is 4 ways, so the traffic should be slowing down. So if the bike goes through, they're not gonna get waylaid.
Right.
Sorry, I just got to add that we're going to get Chief some bike shorts that have police on the back.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that question. I was just wondering how many times they're gonna have to stop there.
There's a lot of stop signs either way.
Yeah.
And again, that all goes
Yes.
back to the original railroad right of way and not having that straight shot.
Okay, so
I have one more question before we wrap this up. What would be opposition to making Bateman and 2nd the primary and making 8th and Willis the alternative?
Do we have to designate that on our signage?
Basically what I would see is, kind of like Mindy was talking about, you know, hey, this is a more family friendly situation if you have whatever, and I don't know how you convey that,
Yeah, I don't know.
whatever, but I think that trying to bring as many people through our downtown and this whole thing, I'm pointing to Willis and First and Second, Joe. It should be, high on our priority list. And.
Yep.
I say this a lot, but I did have a business on the bike trail for 6 years, and the demographic of riders, I would say, especially people that are using this as a connector trail, would be people that are a little older. And there are a lot of people that have kids. I'm not saying that there aren't. I'm saying that that's probably the smaller demographic than through bicyclers, people that are riding for beers and burgers or exercise or whatever they ride.
I like that idea, Jeremy, with the alternative route. You got the business route and you got a residential route. Residential will take you safe through the neighborhoods. Business will take you right to Second Street. Stop and shop.
Will the stop sign situation be addressed, like studied later as far as all the intersections that we consider? I'm just thinking about like Second and Otley is also a tricky intersection. Through Willis and whatnot, so just as we're talking about how many stop signs, is there an opportunity to assess that?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question.
Lindsay asked about assessing stop signs in the future and just kind of traffic control around the routes, which I think, yeah.
Yeah, because every time I take Eighth when school's not in session and I have to stop 15 times between Willis and Park, I think,
Exactly.
why do I have to do this? But yeah, so again, it's a nice thoroughfare, but nobody uses it because it's just too many stops unless you're going to the school. So, no. Yeah, the other thing that we're going to have to address at some point is bike parking downtown, because there are some existing bike racks. They're not near enough for an extra inflow of people, and they take up most of the sidewalk. So do we need to look at doing like the streetery idea and taking a parking space every so often and putting bike racks down there to accommodate more bikes and get them off the street so that people walking to and from can get by. So at some point we have to
I agree
address.
with that. Vicky brought that up on Monday. What a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah. But we may need to take some parking spaces to accommodate the bicycles.
Or at
And I
least
don't-
get some more racks
Or we
quickly.
might consider taking some abandoned buildings and turn one down.
There you go.
Well, and another thing
Far
you
away
might want to
from
look
some
at
of the
too
other
is,
businesses.
maybe we should close the street, 2 blocks of the street off. If we have too many bikers down there, because you're gonna be taking parking away from them anyway. So, and you got the farmer's thing down there.
Closing what
Yeah.
street?
Second Street, can't drive down there.
Like 2 blocks of it.
Boy, that's a big sell to get me to vote for that.
It might be that way anyway.
Well,
I think if
Or
I
again,
had a
someone
business
suggested going
downtown,
back to the one-way Second
If
Street.
I owned a business downtown and this council said, no, nobody can come park in front of your door and walk in, I would be really irritated.
You might have it anyway.
I have,
I think
really irritated. If I couldn't
I
park in
understand
front,
that too,
or
yeah.
my wife, you know, who's somewhat handicapped, could come and park and walk right in the front door of one of those businesses, I would be really upset.
just to note, as part of the downtown reconstruction project that's coming up, we're putting a lot more thought into nodes and usability for the bike trail. So even incorporating like a water bottle fill station downtown, and maybe even using some of the bump out areas as more of a bike parking area, things like that. So from a design perspective, that's much more of a consideration in how we design things now.
And we're a little limited when you have your outside stuff that's out there in the parking too. I mean, that's taking parking
Mhm.
spaces.
Just-
I said with some of the businesses with their outside where they can sit out during the summer, they're taking parking places there too, so.
To those 2 points, I spend a lot of time downtown. And I would challenge that there's ever a problem at this point finding parking downtown. I meant to go out Saturday and Sunday and take some pictures up and down Second, but I forgot to do that. We could have used some cars down there on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
No, and I firmly believe that.
yeah,
But for those people that did park down there, it may be very important. Sure.
yeah.
And
The biggest traffic congestion is on farmers market days. What's that?
So a couple of things, again, with the downtown project, we're keeping a very keen eye on parking. I think also we're gonna be, if Third and Otley is the route, but probably regardless, we're gonna be transitioning the west side of Third Street to angle parking to increase the number of spots, because that Third Street is so wide, you'll be able to fit angled parking in there, just exactly like Warford Street, parallel parking on one side, angled on the other. So trying to increase the number of spots. But I say that with, I think one of the initiatives that we're really going to be working on is educating folks on downtown parking as a district rather than necessarily parking right in front of a door. So bringing that aspect, especially with the improvements of the parking lot at First and Warford, it's going to be much easier. You don't have to there's not 3 separate parking lots kind of as one. It's just going to be one very easily navigated parking lot. There's tons of spots at the post office. I think when Jeremy and I were talking, I drove by at 5 o'clock-ish on a Friday night, 5:30 on a Friday night, and there was not one car in that parking lot. And granted, that's before the theater's evening showings, but there's a good number of parking spots. I think there's like 650 or something like that, parking spots in our downtown district. So
But you have to walk to your business then.
walking is good for your heart and soul. I think, again, just to reiterate, staff's recommendation is that 8th Street, Willis, 3rd to Otley. And then doubling down on pushing activity to the downtown district. And I think I really like the idea of signing it as kind of the business route or the downtown business route, something around that to encourage those trail users to get into the downtown. But again, no matter what is decided, staff is on board to implement it and make it the best it can be. Okay.
I would make a motion that we incorporate. I would make a motion that we incorporate both routes as the primary routes with a designation, business, rural,
Or bypass.
or bypass, whatever. I don't know that I like the bypass idea.
I think
Bypass kind of says, I'm not at all interested in your town.
Yeah.
But I would like to designate that we have both routes with adequate signage to make them accessible for the people who want alternatives going through town. Since we don't have a railroad.
And I think my recommendation with that would be the High Trestle Trail and the High Trestle Trail business route or something along those lines. just so that there is a little bit of a differentiation between the two. But
Sure.
we can wordsmith whatever, but
Because I like this is not my motion. I really like the idea of having that Second and Otley trailhead, water filling station, P station, whatever we designated, with plenty of signage. And I definitely think that there are gonna be people that are gonna wanna go right through downtown. But I don't think everybody is gonna wanna go right through downtown.
Are we still in the motion?
We have a motion.
we have
We have a second.
motion-ish.
We have a
I
motion.
like the second, Barb's motion.
Okay, motion and a second.
Just want to make sure I have Barb's motion right. Motion to incorporate both routes as primary routes with adequate signage for those that want alternatives through town. Did I hit
Is there specifics around verbiage? Being like, here is the High Trestle Trail and here is the business route?
You want me to?
Both of those routes would lead to the High Trestle though, wouldn't it?
They
Yeah.
both end up there, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, so
so I'm just trying
it's,
to,
it's one route is residential and one route is business.
I think,
I think we're overthinking it.
yeah. I
Yeah.
just-
These people are gonna know that after they're through here one time, they're gonna know what they prefer and what's easy and what works for them.
And yeah,
We business down by where we have industry or something, you know.
Route through downtown.
That'd be one thing, but.
yeah. Well, I'm just,
I would
what I think what I'm trying, we can wordsmith the best conveyance of the message. I think I'm just trying to get to,
sidewalk route, downtown route.
Well, we don't have to decide the verbiage here. We can determine that. But
We can even bring back. If you wanted, we can bring back the templates for the signage, you could approve those by resolution.
I just have one question. Are both of these things feasible by August drop dead date?
yep,
Making these equally passable routes?
Yes, we've done sign inventory, we've mocked up signs, waiting for confirmation so we know exactly what to order. We can have the signs back and installed, in probably 30 days would be my guess. And then within the month of May to June, we will be able to do the concrete work and get the infrastructure done around that off the Third Street corridor. So that's all fair. That's all 100% doable before the trail. For sure.
and then the share the road signs are probably pre-stocked, so those would be sooner. And I think we already have the Sharrow stencil. It might even be in Josh Webker's office or at the street shop. So, yep, so all that can be done relatively quickly, and then it's just a matter of getting the signs ordered, getting the sign bases and posts put together, and then the concrete work is kind of the most time consuming. But other than that, everything is ready to go. We just need to know which button to push.
Isn't this pushing both buttons?
Well,
Takes two people to turn the key. Takes five of you.
Is there a possibility that we can have a bond commission decided today or?
no,
No, it's not on the agenda.
Just Sherry.
Because I've got TMAC students waiting to get going on this art project if we have an art commission that says this is.
it was one of my rocks to get something done this quarter, but there's another little thing that came up that distracted me. So, but it'll
Spin,
probably
I
get
gotta,
re-rocked.
Spin, can I interject?
I'll allow it.
I would like to make a motion to appoint Sherry Shibe as the
We
art
already got a
director
motion
for
on
bike
the
trail.
agenda on the floor here, so we'd have to wait on that. But
Okay.
any other discussion on the motion that's,
Good enough.
if not, we'll have a roll call.
We're still good with Walling motioning incorporating both routes as primary routes with adequate signage for both of those, for those that want an alternative through town.
Yes.
Okay, and Shelley, you're still good with the second on that?
Yes.
Okay, now,
So-
just want to make sure.
Okay, roll call.
All right, so I have Walling,
Yes.
Shelley,
Yes.
Baller,
Yes.
Schott,
Yes.
Klein.
Yes.
Okay, so Joseph, since that's the only thing on the agenda, we can bring up, let's hear what your motion was going to be, but that'll have to probably be put on the next council agenda meeting.
Motion to appoint Sherry Shibe, the art director for the bicycle trail. Art commission, excuse me.
Okay, so
Can I have more
It's-
people? Don't make it all up.
So, okay, we'll discuss that, but we'll try to get something going on that, Sherry, soon. Any other
President of the commission.
discussion points before we adjourn? Okay, not, we'll adjourn. Thank you all for coming in, taking time off of your regular schedule and doing this. We can wordsmith the signage. Jeremy, if you want some input on that, please talk to Sven and John. Okay, thank you.